She waited hours for her friends to arrive at her birthday, but when no one came she ate the cake alone, realizing not everyone call a friend truly cares. I'm writing this because I need to get it out. Because maybe if I tell anyone, it'll stop eating me alive from the inside. My name doesn't matter, what is what I did, what I destroyed, what I away for 30 seconds of stupidity. It started 3 months ago, Sarah's 30th birthday. She'd been planning it for weeks, texting everyone, making sure they knew the date, the time, our apartment. She bought a cake from that expensive bakery downtown, the one we couldn't really afford but she justified because Hoots only once a year and I want it to be perfect. I should have seen the signs. Should have paid attention to how quiet her phone was that week. How she kept checking it, waiting for responses that weren't coming. But I was wrapped in my own world, my own problems at work, my own selfish bubble. The night before her birthday, she was so excited she couldn't sleep. She kept talking about who was coming, what we'd do, how fun it would be. It's gonna be amazing, she said, curled next to me. I can't wait to meet some of my college friends. They're finally gonna see how happy we are. God, the way she said that. How happy we are. Like it was this precious thing she wanted to show off. I should tell about Sarah. Really tell. She's the kind of person who remembers birthday even if only met once. Who brings soup when they're sick. Who cries during animal shelter commercials and actually donates money afterward. She'd been my girlfriend for 4 years and I knew, deep down she was waiting for me to propose. I'd been thinking about it. Had the ring picked out and everything. The day of her birthday, she spent hours getting ready. Did her hair. That bright red lipstick she only wore for special occasions. The blue dress I'd complimented her in 6 months earlier. She remembered everything. Every tiny detail that might make someone else happy. 5 o'clock rolled around. The apartment was perfect. Balloons, streamers, that expensive cake sitting in the middle of the table like a crown jewel. Sarah kept checking her phone, refreshing the group chat, making sure the music was just right. They'll be here soon. She said more to herself than to me. 6 o'clock then 7. Her smile started to around the edges but she kept it. Traffic, no. Everyone's probably stuck in traffic. By 8 she'd stopped making excuses. Just sat on the couch still in that beautiful dress, staring at her phone like it might magically produce the friends who'd promised to show. Maybe we should the cake, I suggested, trying to keep my voice light. No, get the party started. She looked at me with these eyes. God, those eyes. Like a kid who just realized Santa isn't real. But no one's here yet. That's when I should have held her. Should have told her their loss was my gain, that we could make our own party, that she was worth more than all of them combined. Instead I felt this weird anger bubbling. Anger at her friends for being such flakes. Anger at her for being so naive. Anger at for having to watch this train wreck unfold. I'm gonna step outside, I said. Get some air. The worst part, she just nodded, didn't even ask me to stay. I walked to the corner store, bought cigarettes even though I'd quit 2 years earlier. That's where I saw her. Emma, blonde, everything Sarah wasn't. I'd known Emma from college before Sarah and I got together. We'd had a thing, nothing serious, but there was always this tension when we ran into each other. Matt. She smiled, that crook smile I used to think was so, what are doing out here? Don't have Sarah's birthday thing tonight. And that's when I broke. Started venting about the whole disaster, about watching the most caring person I knew get crushed by people who didn't deserve her friendship. Emma listened, nodded in all the right places, said all the right things. You're such a good boyfriend, she said, stepping closer. Sarah's lucky to have someone who cares so much. The cigarette smoke hung between us like a curtain. Like it could hide what came next. I always wondered. She said, her voice barely above a whisper. What would have happened if we'd given it a real back then? I should have walked away. Should have gone back to Sarah, helped her that cake, held her while she cried about friends who weren't really friends. Instead I let Emma's words sink into my brain like. Woo can't, I said, but I didn't move away. Just once. She wished to know. The lasted maybe 30 seconds. 30 seconds that destroyed 4 years. 30 seconds that turned me into the kind of person I used to judge. 30 seconds that would haunt me for the rest of my. When I pulled away, Emma was smiling. I should go, she said, like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just lit a match and thrown into my. I walked back to the apartment in a daze. Sarah was sitting at the kitchen table, the cake in front of her, one candle lit. She'd herself a small slice, was eating it slowly, mechanically. Where is everyone? I asked stupidly. She looked at me with tear-streaked mascara. They're not coming, Jessica texted 20 minutes ago. Apparently there's some pool party across town. More fun, she said. The others just stopped responding. I sat down across from her, watching her eat birthday cake alone, and felt like the biggest monster who ever lived. Here she was heartbroken because people she trusted had abandoned her, and I just cheated on her with my ex. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it for so much more than she knew. It's not fault, she said, giving me this weak smile. At least I have. Those words hit me like a physical. At least I have. Except she didn't, not really. Not anymore. I wanted to tell her right then, wanted to confess everything, beg for forgiveness, promise it would never happen again. But looking at her sitting there already destroyed by one betrayal, I couldn't bring to deliver another. So I smiled back and said, always. The lie tasted worse than the cigarettes. We finished the cake together in silence, and I held her while she cried about friends who weren't friends, never knowing she was crying over the wrong betrayal entirely. That night, lying next to her while she slept, I stared at the ceiling and tried to convince it was just a mistake that didn't mean anything. That I could forget about it, move on, be better. But Emma had already texted me twice, and I'd already replied I thought I could handle it. Thought I was strong enough to carry this secret and move on. God, I was such an. Emma's text started innocent enough. Thanks for listening tonight. Hope Sarah feels better. Then, been thinking about our conversation. Then 3 days later, want to grab coffee. Just as friends, just as friends. That's what I told when I said yes. That's what I told when I lied to Sarah about having to work late. That's what I told right until Emma leaned across the table at that coffee shop and said, I haven't stopped thinking about that. Sarah had been different since her birthday. Quieter, more clingy. She deleted half her contacts, stopped posting on social media, started second guessing every friendship she had left. Am I too much? She asked me one morning, applying that same red lipstick in the mirror. I boring. Is that why nobody came? Or perfect? I said automatically, but I was already thinking about Emma's text from that morning. Can't wait to see later. The second time it lasted longer. We were in her car after coffee date that wasn't supposed to be a date. She'd parked behind the old movie theater, the one that closed down when we were kids. Like we were teenagers again, hiding from consequences that felt a million miles away. This is crazy, I said, but I didn't pull away. Crazy good, she whispered back. That's when she told me about her. About her job in marketing that paid twice what I made. About her downtown apartment with the city view. About the guy she'd been dating who just doesn't get her, the way I did. Remember how we used to talk about traveling, she said. About seeing the world before we got trapped in some boring suburban. I did remember. Back in college before I met Sarah, Emma and I had these grand plans. Europe, Asia. Living out of backpacks and youth hostels. Dreams that felt possible when you're 20 and Sarah's never even left the state. I found saying and hated for it immediately. Emma smiled like she'd won something. Exactly. Deserve someone who matches ambition. I should have laughed. Should have told her that Sarah's dreams were just as valid as ours, that wanting a stable with someone love isn't settling. Instead, I let her words plant themselves in my brain like weeds. The third time we were in a car. I won't give details. Won't pretend it was romantic or meaningful or anything other than what it was, selfish destruction disguised as passion. But I will tell this, while I was in Emma's downtown apartment with the city view, Sarah was at home making my favorite dinner, because she'd noticed I seemed stressed lately, while Emma was telling me about all the places we could go together, all the things we could do if I wasn't tied down. Sarah was secretly researching engagement ring insurance, because she'd seen me looking at jewelry websites, and wanted to protect the investment she was sure I was about to make. While I was lying to Emma about how unhappy I'd been, how trapped I felt, Sarah was planning a surprise weekend trip to that cabin we'd talked about renting. She'd already put down a deposit. I found out about the cabin the next morning. Sarah showed me the confirmation email over breakfast, her face lit with excitement. I thought we needed some time away, just us. Like when we first started dating. The guilt hit me like a freight train. Sarah, that's amazing. I know things have been hard lately, she said, reaching across to squeeze my hand. With my birthday and everything, I've been kind of a mess, but I want to work on us. I want to be better. She was apologizing to me for being sad that her friends had abandoned her, while I was the one who'd actually abandoned her, just in a way she didn't know yet. My phone buzzed. Emma, last night was incredible. When can I see again? I deleted the text, but Sarah saw me looking at my phone. Everything okay? Just work stuff. I lied and watched her smile falter just a little. Like she was already learning not to trust that everything was okay. The weekend at the cabin should have been perfect. Sarah had packed all my favorite snacks, downloaded movies she thought I'd like, even brought a cooler full of that expensive I only bought on special occasions. She was trying so hard to fix something that wasn't even broken on her end. But I couldn't stop thinking about Emma, about what she'd said about ambition and adventure, about how Sarah's biggest dream was getting married and maybe having kids someday, while Emma talked about launching her own company and traveling to Japan. Penny for thoughts. Sarah said Saturday evening. We were sitting by the fireplace she'd managed to get started after 20 minutes of struggling with matches and newspaper. She looked beautiful in the flickering light, content in a way I used to find peaceful but now made me feel restless. Just thinking about work, I said. Another lie. They were getting easier. Been doing that a lot lately, she said quietly. Thinking about work. Being stressed. Are sure that's all it is? The opening was right there. I could have told her everything. Could have confessed, begged forgiveness, promised to contact with Emma and focus on what we had. Looking back now, I think she would have forgiven me. Sarah was the forgiving type. Probably would have blamed herself, somehow found a way to make it her fault that I'd strayed. Instead I said, yeah, I'm sure. Just a busy time. She nodded, but I could see her filing that lie away somewhere in her head. Starting to build a collection of moments when I wasn't quite present, wasn't quite truthful, wasn't quite the person she thought I was. Sunday morning she made pancakes shaped like hearts. Actual hearts, with strawberries and whipped cream. I love, she said as she set the plate down in front of me. I know I've been clingy lately, and I'm going to work on that. But I love so much Matt, or my best friend, while I was busy betraying her with someone who saw our relationship as nothing more than an obstacle to overcome. My phone rang while we were packing. Emma's name flashed on the screen, and I almost didn't answer. Almost. Hey, I said, stepping outside while Sarah folded our clothes. I miss, Emma said, no prebble. This weekend felt like forever. When are gonna tell her? Tell her what? About us, about what this is becoming. Matt, what we have is special. Don't feel that. Through the cabin window, I could see Sarah carefully eating the leftover heart-shaped pancakes in a container, probably planning to heat them for breakfast tomorrow. Planning for our future like she always did, in small thoughtful ways. I started. Can't what? Be happy. Matt, we're wasting with someone doesn't even inspire to be better. I'm offering everything. Adventure, success, a real partnership with someone who gets potential. She's not holding me back, I said weakly. Isn't she though? When's the last time took a risk? When's the last time did something that scared? She's got playing it safe, settling for ordinary. I looked at Sarah through the window again. She was smiling at something on her phone, probably texting her sister about our weekend. Living her quiet, steady that used to feel like home and now felt like a cage. I need time to think, I said. Don't think too long, Emma replied. I'm not gonna wait forever. The drive home was quiet. Sarah trying to start conversations about the cabin. About maybe making it an annual tradition. About how good it felt to reconnect. I gave her one-word answers and blamed it on being tired. By the time we pulled into our parking space she'd stopped trying. That night, lying in bed next to her, I made a decision. I was going to end things with Emma. Contact, delete her number, focus on Sarah. But first, I was going to see Emma one more time. Just to explain in person. Just to be honorable about it. Even then, even planning to do the right thing, I was lying to. The text I sent Emma that night said, we need to talk. Tomorrow. Her response came back instantly. Finally ready to start our reel together. I stared at that message for an hour before Sarah rolled over in her sleep and her arm across my chest. Even unconscious, she was reaching for me, trusting me, believing in us. I closed my phone without responding to Emma, but I didn't delete the message either. Some part of me, the part that was already too far gone to save, was keeping that door open. I never got the chance to end things with Emma. Because Sarah found out first. It wasn't dramatic like in the movies. No catching us together, no mysterious phone calls. It was mundane and so much worse because of it. I'd been getting sloppy, leaving my phone face, taking calls in the next room, working late 3 nights a week. Sarah noticed everything, but she's not the type to snoop. She's the type to trust until trust becomes impossible. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I was supposed to pick dinner on my way home from another work meeting with Emma. Instead, I got distracted by Emma's plans for us to spend the weekend at some resort upstate. Just think about it, she kept saying. A whole weekend where we don't have to hide. By the time I remembered, dinner was past 9 and everything was closed. I came home empty, handed to find Sarah sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open, surrounded by takeout menace. I ordered Chinese, she said without looking. Figured got caught at work again. The way she said work made my stomach drop. Like she was testing the word, seeing how it felt in her mouth when she knew it was a lie. Sorry, the meeting ran long and I completely spaced on dinner. What meeting? She asked, still not looking at me. I fumbled for details I didn't have. Quarterly review stuff. Boring. She finally looked and her eyes were different. Harder. Matt Company doesn't do quarterly reviews in March. They do them in January and July. I've listened to complain about the schedule for 3 years. The room went dead silent. I could hear the neighbor's TV through the wall, some cooking show where everything was cheerful and normal, and people didn't lie to the person they claimed to love. I started, then stopped. What was I gonna say? The truth was sitting there between us like a loaded. I know seeing someone, she said quietly. I've known for weeks. My heart stopped. Actually stop. Sarah, I can explain. Ken. She closed the laptop with a soft click, because I've been trying to explain it to. Trying to figure out what I did wrong. Why the person I've loved for 4 years suddenly started treating me like a roommate he barely tolerates. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Matt? Help me understand how the man who promised me forever 3 months ago started sneaking around behind my back. I sat down across from her in the same chair where I'd watched her eat birthday cake alone. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here we were again, Sarah dealing with betrayal while I sat there feeling sorry for. It just happened, I said weakly. It just happened. She repeated my words like they tasted bitter. What just happened? The lying, the late nights, the way look right through me when I'm talking. That all just happened. Sarah, please. I said Emma. The name hit me like a. How did? She liked one of old photos on Instagram last week, from 2 years ago. Who likes a 2-year-old photo unless they're scrolling through someone's entire profile? And then I remembered her from college, remembered how 2 used to be close. I wanted to lie again, wanted to deny everything, gaslight her into thinking she was imagining things. But looking at her sitting there, shoulders straight, jaw set, ready to hear the worst, I realized Sarah deserved better than my lies on top of my betrayal. Yes, I said. It's Emma. She nodded like she'd expected it but hoped she was wrong. How long? A month? Maybe 6 weeks? Since my birthday. The question came out. Been cheating on me since the night of my birthday. I couldn't answer. Couldn't tell her that while she was crying over friends who abandoned her. I was outside kissing someone who saw her as nothing more than an inconvenience. Oh God, she put her hands over her face. That night when went out for air and came back smelling like cigarettes. That's when it started, isn't it? Still couldn't answer. I was sitting in here eating cake pie, wondering why I wasn't worth showing for, and we're out there starting an affair. The word affair hung in the air like smoke. Made it real in a way that all my justifications and excuses couldn't undo. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Are in love with her? The question I'd been avoiding asking for weeks. I don't know. That's not an answer. I think maybe. Yes. She flinched like I'd hit her. To love me. Of course I love Bai. But not enough to stay faithful. Not enough to talk to me when we're feeling disconnected. Not enough to work on us instead of working on someone else. Every word was accurate and brutal. I sat there taking it because she was right and I was wrong and there was no middle ground to hide in anymore. I want to leave, she said. Sarah, can we please talk about this? I want to pack a bag and leave tonight. We can figure out the apartment later but I can't. I can't look at right now. I nodded and stood, then sat back down. I know I have no right to ask this, but is there any chance? No. The word was final. Matt didn't just cheat on me. Lied to my face every day for 6 weeks. Let me blame for feeling distant from. Let me plan romantic weekends while we're planning a future with someone else. There's no coming back from that. I never planned a future with her. Didn't. She pulled out her phone, swiped to something, then slid it across the table. She posted this an hour ago. It was Instagram. Emma at some fancy restaurant, champagne glass raised, caption reading, to new beginnings and finally getting what deserve. Some good things are worth waiting for. Or she thinks she's won, Sarah said quietly. She thinks she's won some prize. And maybe she has. Maybe two deserve each other. I wanted to tell her that Emma was wrong, that she hadn't won anything, that what we had was nothing compared to what Sarah and I had built. But looking at that post, at Emma's smug smile, I realized she was already planning our future while I was still pretending this was all some terrible mistake. I'll pack a bag, I said. Sarah nodded and went back to her laptop, started typing like I was already gone. It took me 20 minutes to pack 4 years of my. Sarah stayed in the kitchen the whole time, never came to watch me leave, never said goodbye. The last thing I heard from her was the sound of typing, probably telling someone what happened, probably getting the support I should have given her. I drove to a motel 6 blocks away and sat in my car in the parking lot for an hour before checking in. My phone had 17 missed calls from Emma and twice as many texts, all variations of "where are we, need to celebrate." I turned the phone off and sat on a bed that smelled like disinfectant and regret, staring at the water-stained ceiling. 3 days later, Sarah changed her relationship status to single. No long explanation, no angry post about cheating boyfriends. Just single, like I had never existed at all. Emma took that as her cue to go public with us. Posted a photo of us at dinner with the caption, "Finally official with my favorite person. Sometimes the best things are worth the wait." The comments were brutal. People who knew Sarah, who knew we'd been together for 4 years, who could do math and figure out the timeline. Emma deleted the negative ones, but she couldn't delete them fast enough. My sister called me that night. "Matt, what the is wrong with? It's complicated." No, it's not. Sarah is the best thing that ever happened to, and a way for some Instagram influencer with commitment issues. Emma's not an influencer. I don't care if she's the Queen of England. Had something real with Sarah. Something people spend their whole lives looking for. And destroyed it for what? Adventure, excitement, a better view from someone's apartment. I hung on her but her word stuck. Something people spend their whole lives looking for. 2 weeks after I moved out, I saw Sarah at the grocery store. She was in the produce section, looking at apples like they the most important decision she'd ever make. She'd lost weight, and there were dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite cover. I almost walked over. Almost apologized again, tried to explain that I was miserable, that I'd made the biggest mistake of my. But then I saw her phone light with a text, saw her smile for the first time since her birthday, and realized she was already healing. Already moving on. I was holding her back even from her recovery. Emma was waiting for me in the car, complaining about how long I was taking, planning our weekend in the Hamptons with her marketing friends. People I didn't know doing things that felt hollow, living a that looked better on paper than it felt in reality. Did get the good cheese? She asked when I got back to the car. I looked down at my hands, empty except for a receipts I didn't remember buying. Yeah, I lied. It was getting easier to lie to Emma too. 6 months later, Sarah got engaged to someone else. A teacher she'd met through volunteer work. Someone who showed to her birthday party and stayed to help clean after everyone else left. Someone who thought her quiet dreams were worth fighting for. Emma broke with me a week after that. Said I'd gotten too serious, too boring. Said she missed the excitement of sneaking around, the thrill of the forbidden. Said she was ready for someone more successful. I found out later she'd been seeing her boss for a month before she left me. The irony was so sharp it drew. I'm writing this from the same hotel I checked into that first night. Different room, same water stains, same smell of disinfectant and other people's mistakes. Emma's moved on to richer pastures. Sarah's building it with someone who deserves her. And I'm here alone with the consequences of choosing excitement over love, adventure over commitment, lies over truth. The worst part isn't the loneliness. It's knowing that somewhere out there, Sarah is birthday cake with someone who shows, someone who stays. Someone who loves her enough to choose her every single day instead of just when it's convenient. Win gamble with forever, don't get to keep the house when lows.